that is just... that smell.
Ooh, that smell. Can you smell that smell? What you smelling, Graham?
This wonderful homegrown that I got back at Christmas.
Ooh, is that the stuff that from Spencer's girlfriend's parents?
Spencer's fiance. I have some exciting news today.
You heard it here, folks. Breaking on Drunk Thoughts and High Opinions.
Last night, Spencer proposed to his girlfriend of nearly 3 years, or just over 3 years.
Yeah, what did he propose to her about? Did he go anal?
To get married.
Okay.
You silly dingus.
You gotta specify these things. You never know. You just never know.
Yeah. He did a very cute thing. They've been painting their house, so he took one of the walls that they'd been planning to paint and painted "Will You Marry Me" on that wall with the color that they were planning on doing, so they can just go right over it. And I thought that was a very cute. Way of doing it.
I mean,
so I say congratulations.
Movie, but you know,
it does. But they're dorks, so I'll let them have it.
Exactly. But that's you took the words right out of my mouth. Like, you know, if it works, it works. So let's give it up for Spencer and Madison.
Madison, yes.
Madison. All right, hold on. We're gonna put this in.
Hey!
Cheers!
I don't hear it, but yeah.
I'll put it in later in post. Well, that's awesome. Congrats to those kids.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I got to send Spencer some more money tomorrow, so I owe him some money for my Christmas gift to my dad. So,
yes.
I'll put it in the Venmo message. Congratulations on the coming nuptials.
Oh, very good. Very good.
That is very good. So, but to confirm, the weed you're smoking is Madison's parents.
Yes, that is true. That is
indeed
true. And I'm grinding it with a wonderful new grinder that I got, courtesy of my lovely lady, Morgan. She got it for me as an early Valentine's Day present since we were not going to be able to be together on Valentine's Day.
Aww.
She got me a Sharpstone grinder, the little turn at the top.
Ooh.
And then just a normal one, just your basic ass.
She got you 2 grinders.
She got me 2 grinders.
I think I found the right lady.
Yeah. I think I found the right lady, you know?
Oh,
what can
adorable.
I say? Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, so much for me asking you to be my Valentine. Wow.
Yeah, no, sorry, Corey. I'll just get you some Hoyne dark matter.
Hoyne! Oh, I forgot about Hoyne. Hoyne is delicious.
I found it recently. Found it in a few of the liquor stores in my town, and at a few of the bars that I go to. And you know, it's not my thing. I'm not the biggest like dark beer fan, but I mean, that one does taste pretty fucking good.
Right. Well, you'll be happy to know that I'm taking a leaf out of your book this evening. So my opening beverage for this evening's festivities is another Moscow Mule, but it is the last one. I just ran out of vodka as I poured it. So
very nice.
But I have a 6-pack of a local brew, Fulton Brewing, out of here in the Twin Cities. I've had their Lonely Blonde Ale, I think it's called. Just the blonde ale. It's not bad. But tonight I decided to go with a beer inspired by my buddy Graham. It's called Sweet Child of Vine, and it is a IPA.
That sounds fucking lovely. And you know what? I think I might have had Fulton before because I recognize the name.
I'm like 99% confident it's a Minnesota-based brewery. So, yeah. We're gonna have that after my first Moscow Mule. So while you're taking that big old hit, welcome kids to this week's episode of Drunk Thoughts and High Opinions. I am your drunken dastardly dude. My name is Corey Rokes.
And I am your inebriated, high, flying on clouds host, Graham.
We gotta find like an alliteration. I was kind of proud of my alliteration there.
Yeah,
that worked. Wendy's, eh?
Get Wendy's. You know, they're not sponsoring us, but they should.
Not yet. Wendy's, the official food of Drunk Thoughts and High Opinions. Because when you're drunk or high, the biggest thing you want in the world is a square burger patty.
Or what I just had, their bacon portobello melt.
Oh. I really hope to never see that face of yours again, but
so fucking good. Oh my god. You know how I feel about bacon, you know how I feel about mushrooms.
I mean, who doesn't love bacon? And
really,
mushrooms,
like,
I agree with you. I love a good mushroom. Sadly, my girlfriend is allergic to them, so I don't see a lot in my future. Oh,
that is so tragic. I am sorry. I'm sorry to Hannah, because that is a tragic thing to be allergic to. Like, it's much better just to not really like them than to be fully allergic to them, because mushrooms give life some of their greatest, moments, either through food or through drugs.
They just give life in general. Haven't you played a Super Mario Brothers game?
Yes. 1-ups.
That's actually the grow big mushroom is actually based on a real mushroom in Japan. Did you know that? Like, it doesn't make you grow big, but the design, the red with white spots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have weird mushrooms over there.
They do indeed. But speaking of Nintendo, we're recording this hot on the trails of the Nintendo Direct that aired today,
it came out,
February the 8th.
4 hours ago? Yeah.
Depending on your time zone.
Yeah. Right.
I guess it doesn't.
No,
yes.
It all came out at the same time. So it was like 4 hours ago it finished airing. I have to say, this one was a real roller coaster for me. The first half really had me just like, I was sighing, I was bored, I was looking at my phone, not really like interested or paying attention. The second half of this had me so goddamn excited. They were announcing things that I had either forgotten that I wanted, or things that I never thought I could even hope to get Nintendo to re-release. Take Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 remastered, for example. Just one of the games that they've announced. I loved. If you could not, kindly, sir, please refrain from this terrible sound you're making. As I was saying, I loved Baten Kaitos when I was growing up, and now seeing it was not a popular game, first and foremost. Like, not a popular game, not a well-known game outside of Japan.
It was a very poorly marketed game. I feel like it was a good game for those who knew it, but they did nothing for the marketing here in the States. Because I distinctly remember that game dropping on the GameCube.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you why after you finish your story.
I remember it dropping. I remember my brother getting it. I remember playing the shit out of that game growing up.
The shit.
And I remember, like, when it came out, it had like that. It had like the equivalent of when a story only lasts like 6 hours on social media. You know, when something like is kind of pops up for like just a few hours and then just immediately gets blindsided by something else that's way more interesting and important.
Kind of like our episodes.
Kind of like our episodes. I think that's kind of what happened with Baten Kaitos, and so now I'm really, really excited that they are getting the re-release that they so rightly deserve. I never got to play 2. I only played the original.
I didn't even know they had a second one.
There was 2 games. I don't think they were known as 1 and 2. It was like Origins and Requiem or something like that. I can't remember exactly what they were, but they had like kind of distinct names. I think just for this like package, they're like, let's just call them 1 and 2 for the sake of it. They were released 1 and then 2. So that was just an example of like a game that I never even hoped Nintendo would. I didn't think I could hope that they would re-release it, because it was like, what's the point? They're never going to. It's fucking Nintendo. But then, like I've said before, Nintendo never makes the good decision. It never makes the bad decision. It only makes the weird decision. Well, Nintendo today made a weird decision, and for me, that's very good. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's a good decision for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I distinctly remember this game dropping. I remember because back then I subscribed to a now defunct magazine called Electronic Gaming Monthly, which I really enjoyed because it covered all three of the consoles at the time, and so you get all the news versus PlayStation Magazine, Nintendo Magazine, Xbox Official, blah, blah, blah. And I remember them announcing this game on the GameCube, and I was like, oh, this looks so dope. It looks like Final Fantasy on the GameCube. I'm so excited for this. And then, to my disappointment, and I know you're going to disagree with me here, so just preemptively shut the fuck up. I do not like card-based battles.
No,
and that is what this game. I preemptively told you to shut the fuck up.
I was going to agree with you. I was going to agree with you. I don't generally like card games. And honestly, until you brought it up a few years ago when we first mentioned it to each other, I had no idea that it was a card-based game. I was just playing it like Final Fantasy.
God damn you. You were so young.
I was so fucking young. That's why I'm really excited for this game to come back, because I remember really enjoying the story and the characters. All the characters were super interesting and well thought out. And I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the world. Kind of reminded me of when I played Lost Odyssey. I remember thinking a lot of Baten Kaitos was in there. A lot of it's blood or DNA.
It's Japanese storytelling. It's all there. Well, Lost Odyssey was American.
That's fair enough. But those two games specifically, it was kind of like Final Fantasy. The core 10 Final Fantasy games had come and gone. And then Lost Odyssey comes a few years later, Blue Dragon, this game, this series. I think they were all kind of let's hold on to that era of Final Fantasy, especially Final Fantasy 9 and 10. Let's hold on to that era, because Square Enix is kind of fucking the dog on this one.
Well, they came out with 11, which was just not a strong successor to 10. So anyway, we're not here to talk about Square Enix's pitfalls.
No, we're not here. No. That's just a thing.
It looks great. I objectively, I think it's a great idea because it was an overlooked GameCube game that I'm sure was very good. I personally just do not like card-based battle systems, and so it just felt. I remember renting it from Fan Video, popping it in for 10 minutes, and being so sorely disappointed. So, anyway, that's just. I 100% agree with you that this was a roller coaster of a direct, just for the sole fact that we got so many random announcements. It was just a shotgun of games from Nintendo. It was usually they come out with these direct and they're like, oh, we're going to focus on this one thing and then a little sprinkle of other stuff. But this was check out this plethora of fucking games you're getting in the first 6 months of 2023. And it's holy shit.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing I did not like about it is well, I don't say I didn't like it, but the only thing I noticed was it was a strong 50-50 mix of old and new. And I'm not sure how to feel about that. In today's day and age where reboots and remakes and remasters and stuff, it's that's you're getting, they're hanging their hat on a lot of stuff that it's kind of low hanging fruit. It's oh, this is a game that's already done. We don't have to think about it. We just got to port it onto the Switch and people will pay us goobles of money for it.
Well, my problem we've talked about this before.
That's a can of worms, buddy. That's a big old
we've
can
talked
of
about
worms.
this before. Is that Nintendo is not doing this more? They should not even be making that big of a fanfare about this. They have such a plethora of old games, which they make a very big deal about. They don't want you stealing them, and then do not make any efforts to make them accessible to the public. Yeah, we've talked about this. I was just gonna allude back to it very quickly. I think the moment that the direct turned from good to great for me was when they announced the Game Boy Color. Actually, the Game Boy Advance. I thought it was like, wow, the Game Boy Color and original Game Boy is coming out. That's amazing. I really wish it was the Advance though. And then I was like live tweeting, texting my brother. I was just like just like in the moment losing my shit. I was like, oh my god, it's the Game Boy. I wish it was the Advance. And then literally within seconds, it was, oh my god, the Game Boy Advance has been announced.
Behind a paywall.
Behind a paywall, obviously. The one that I'm already paying, but whatever. When they showed that it was Fire Emblem 7 and Golden Sun coming later, that made me just a little disappointed that they couldn't just put it out. That those two should have been like Hallmark releases right from the beginning. So I don't really understand the logic on that, but they went with kind of a little too basic bitch on their releases.
First party Nintendo.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of first party Nintendo games, as well as a couple of more random ones that I was like, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, like who the hell is clamoring to play this game? It was like a game where you're like controlling a line through a maze, and I literally seriously out loud in my empty apartment went, who the fuck wants to play that?
I've heard it's a really fucking fun game. I've heard it's really fun. It's an amazing puzzle game and like rhythm game.
Yeah. So it's a puzzle.
I don't know. I've heard that name thrown around a lot in the past as like fantastic game. So I'll try it out at least and see what it's all about.
Oh, you're part of the problem.
You're
the reason we don't get Fire Emblem and Golden Sun at launch, because you will play the bullshit games that they pump out first. And make
having beaten Link's Awakening remake, I did go back and try out Link's Awakening, the original, on the Game Boy Color online, and it's exactly the same game. I loved that. I knew exactly where to go and what to do. Yeah. And so I loved that. I actually, sometimes you just don't know until you get to put your hands on something. You don't really get to know the feel of it. You know, you can watch a million playthroughs of stuff, but until you actually like sit down and play it yourself, you won't feel it. And so yeah, that was nice. Played just a moment of Minish Cap because I've never played that Zelda game.
That one's that's a secret fun one. I wouldn't say it's a great Game Boy Advance game, but it is a fun Zelda game. Like just like the whole shrinking and growing and how they kind of use that to their advantage. I beat that when it first came out on Game Boy Advance, and I remember thinking like, this is kind of fun. Like it was. I mean, I beat it, so obviously I had a great time. But just the whole shtick is like, Zelda games. A lot of Zelda games are predicated on a whole exploring the same world from two different viewpoints. You got the light and the dark world in Link to the Past. You have young Link and old adult Link in Ocarina of Time. You got Twilight Princess and Wolf Link and regular Link when it's covered in Twilight. You're like, a lot of Zelda games are predicated on that before and after, or A and B of the same world. And I dug what they did in Minish Cap. I thought it was really creative until the ending, and then the ending kind of goes off the rails a little bit. The last dungeon is like, okay. And then Vati was not exactly a compelling villain, not as compelling as say Ganon or even like Zant.
It's a shorter game, right?
Skull Kid. Yeah, it's a Game Boy Advance game, so yeah, it's a full Zelda game. I mean, you get all the dungeons out of it that you could want. So it's a. But I just remember it was just a fun game. So I hope you enjoy it. Play it more.
Definitely. The one, obviously, just because this is what I've been asking for since the Switch launched, Fire Emblem 7 is finally coming to Game Boy, to the Switch. Finally, for fucking sake. I will play the shit out of that because, as I've talked about before, that is the game where I learned to read. So I basically know the script backwards and forwards, and it's always nice to go back and kind of refresh my memory on it, get to reacquaint myself with the characters. And now that I have a deeper understanding of game mechanics and what the game was asking of me in terms of like relationships and stuff, I will know exactly like what characters I want to end up with each other at the end while just focusing on combat. That's the fun part, is that it was just a tiny little thing. Like if you want to, you can. If you don't, it's not a big deal. But you do get very basic bitch endings for the characters if you don't. So now that it'll be on my Switch, I'll fucking play the shit out of that. What do you think of Metroid Prime Remastered? Ugh. Metroid Prime.
I'm stoked.
It's out right now.
It is. And I think they discounted it to like $40. So it's not even the price of a full game.
Yeah.
I mean, I do, but I don't understand why it's not all 3 games, because I do not believe that game is now worth $40.
You know what I think they're doing? They released it just the moment they announced it. They hadn't announced it. It's just been like, so that what they're going to do is in 9 months, maybe 6-9 months, maybe a year, they're going to announce the second one, and it's going to drop that day.
Yeah, and then the same with the third, and then it's going to lead into like 4, probably Christmas of 2024 is my guess.
Oh yeah, I think that's probably what's going to happen.
And I think that's what they're trying to lead us to. They're trying to lead us to 4, which was announced back in like 2017, and we haven't heard shit all from that since the announcement. So I think they're trying to get everybody psyched up for Metroid Prime 4, and that's fantastic. I've beaten all 3 Prime games. They are wonderful first-person shooter, explorer, Metroidvania games. I highly recommend it to anybody who hasn't played them. But the remastered, personally, if you've beaten it, it's not worth $40. If you've already played through it, it's not worth $40. If you haven't played it, maybe you could spend a couple bucks. But it looks better, don't get me wrong. But it looked fucking fantastic, even on the GameCube. And then I played it on the Wii U or the Wii when it did there was a triple pack, upscaling, and that looked great. So even watching it, like looking at it now, I don't like. They're not adding anything new. There's no special to it. There's nothing additional. There's nothing really enticing people to go back to that world besides like I could play through that again.
Right.
And if you want to pay $40 to do that, power to you, brother. But for me, I played through it once, and I've beaten it twice, actually, technically. I beat it once on the GameCube, and then I beat it on Wii U. And yeah, there's just not much there like anymore. Like I have no desire to return to Talon 4 because like I've seen it all and done it all.
I've only ever played. I had it growing up. My brother owned it. It was around. I would try it periodically. I only ever beat the prologue. The second or like the first chapter.
You're on the space station.
Is it the space station or the rain planet?
So the prologue is the space station, and then you land on Talon 4. Right. And it starts kind of lush, and then it turns into like an arid desert area, and your first thing is finding the morph ball.
Yeah, so the ones I never made it past like the first part of the planet. I never got to the desert. The lush part, I just remember as being dark and rainy.
It's like right when you land.
Yeah, so I was a little kid. I'd fucking know what I was doing. It came out
in like 03. You were 6.
And also, I was very... Like 01. And also, I was just very bad with first-person shooters that did not allow you to use the other stick.
Well, that wasn't even at the time. That wasn't. I mean, like I think the only shooters that really did that in the moment was like Halo on the Xbox.
I never was good period at any first-person shooters.
It was
until they started adding that. Until they started adding that, I never got good at them. And so the fact that I'll be able to just use the other stick to use the camera, that'll be an absolute game changer. I'll be able to fully play the game, I think.
I recommend, if you do buy it, I don't know how it's going to play on the Switch, but I remember because I played them all on the Wii, and that meant the motion controls. So you had the movement in one hand, and then you aimed with the other. That worked surprisingly well. because that's how the third game was. They did the third game
All
in
right.
that style, and then when they came out with the remaster of all three, they put the first two in that control style too. And I'm like, this actually kind of works.
Interesting.
Really good.
I will try that if I get it. I think I'm gonna wait just a little while. I have quite a few games on my slate, and oh my good lord,
I did appreciate that. That was nice to hear that they incorporated three different, at least to my knowledge, three different control styles: the original GameCube style, the Wii style, and then the new updated dual control stick strafe and look style. Which I was like, oh, that's smart. Like, that is cool. Again,
everybody has played the game from a different version and wants to play that way again.
Or just shooters in general. And so, yeah, anybody who hasn't played it, power to you, brother. If it was $40 for all three, that would probably be worth it.
They're going to do $40 for each of the three, and then like $80 for the fourth game. Probably. They're going to be like,
by the time it drops,
a long
probably.
Time. Yeah, $80.
I remember when games were $50.
Exactly. We're getting old.
This is Wii shit, mammal.
I'm getting old, man. Look at this shit.
You're getting so old you haven't done laundry. You've worn the same sweatshirt 3 times in a row on this show.
I like this sweatshirt.
Yeah, it looks good on you. I just hope it's clean.
I wear it a lot. It is clean.
Good.
I wash it a lot.
Good.
What do you think of me, you piece of shit?
Let's move along. There was a big hubbub about Splatoon 3. Have you ever gotten to the Splatoon games? Because I haven't.
I've never really gotten into Splatoon. See, that was part of the...
Will you go to New York Queens for me? Because I won't.
I won't. That's the thing about, like, the first half of this direct was just... I was not jiving with the first half. It was like, oh, that's cool for whoever likes that. You know, that was kind of my reaction is like, for whoever cares, that's nice. And then in the second half, I suddenly cared.
You don't care about Pikmin 4?
No, I don't give a shit about Pikmin 4.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I never got into the Pikmin games either, and nor did I ever get into Splatoon. It's fun. It looks like a fun little shooter, like something my nieces might play when like 3 or 4 years when they're a little older. But for me, I'm like, no.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What about Dead Cells going to Castlevania? I thought
oh my god, my god. Okay, that was something that I was very excited about.
Yeah, did that perk you up?
That did. I think that was kind of the first thing that really shouted at me. First of all, this means that they have to have worked. They have to have a working relationship with Konami, or they're violating copyright. So Konami has to be involved, which I wonder if the original Castlevania team is kind of a little bit pissed off about that. I don't know. But I am very excited to see what they do with this, because if they make this like a full Castlevania game without you going like level to level, or if they just have you like trying to follow a certain like trajectory going level to level as the game already has been, I don't know what they're going to do. I'm really excited. I think that this is going to be like super well done. Everything that team does is fantastic. It's not a live service because they don't just keep giving you content for free, but it is kind of, I think, the best version of what like a live service could be, is because they found this really great concept that they love making games for, and they didn't intend to originally keep making content for it, but they found that they could just keep creating new levels and new like lore and new like crossovers and stuff and sell it for really low prices. And I was like, this is a really cool thing. And I love that this game has become so massive. And even since I played, the game has probably grown about 10 or 20 times in scale just from the DLCs that they've put out. And it's simply incredible.
You're saying like the cost of the add-ons kind of equal the value, that you don't feel like you're spending money on nothing.
You spend like $5 per DLC, and the DLC adds so much content for a game that you paid like $15 for. Yeah.
All right,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
I want to play that game. It's still, I think, like $20 on the eShop, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I can spend my money
Yeah.
on bigger and better things.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. It's a game. It's a game that if it's really good for like you don't have a lot of time on your hands, so you're like, I'm just gonna pick up the Switch, kill like 20, 30 minutes. You know,
kind of like every
that's
other Switch game.
pretty much. Yeah,
I was gonna say a lot of games do that.
that's fair.
Let's see. We talked. Let's see what else we got on this. We got Cereza and the Last Demon, which is a Bayonetta prequel. Now, you bought Bayonetta a couple weeks ago, and we haven't much followed up on that.
I have not played it yet. This is what I'm talking about. Is I have so many games on my list.
What the fuck you been doing?
I've been playing games with my girlfriend. You know how it be.
No, I don't. Tell me.
Oh, you right. You don't play video games with your girlfriend. Well, see, there's this magical world where your girlfriend likes to play games like Minecraft and Overwatch 2. And
let's be honest, nobody likes playing Minecraft. They just tolerate it.
We all enjoy playing it.
Then you're full of shit.
Well, that's neither here nor there. What other games? Bayonetta is not the most interesting thing to me. I got it because my brother very, very much recommended it to me. When I do eventually play it, we will talk about it on here.
Alrighty.
One thing that I would like to talk about, Advance Wars 1 and 2 Boot Camp has been in release limbo since last year when they decided to delay it in light of the war in Ukraine. This is kind of... Nintendo has a very weird thing about sensitivity. Like, they are so sensitive about the weirdest things, like things you wouldn't expect to be a thing. Like, the Queen died, and so they decided not to air the Tears of the Kingdom trailer, the full Tears of the Kingdom trailer that announced the name Tears of the Kingdom. They decided not to air it in Britain, even though it was released on YouTube everywhere else, just because they felt like it would be insensitive on the day of or around the time of the Queen's death. That's a weird thing to be oversensitive about. And again, here they
Tears of the States.
They've decided, because there's a war in Ukraine, let's delay the release of Advance Wars. And it's like, that's kind of a weird decision. And now that the war has gone on for a full year, they're like, you know what? Fuck it.
I think it makes sense. I can see the rationale there. I mean, you got a whole nation in mourning about the death of the Queen, and so like you literally have a game called Tears of the Kingdom. Like I could see the connection. I agree with you; it's a little superfluous, but I could see the connection. And then you got a game that's literally all about warfare, tanks and helicopters and shit, dropping bombs, fighting armies, and a war that like breaks out. You know, little Ukraine against the giant motherland Russia. I can see it. I can understand this. I think
I understand that.
They're just using a little bit of tact.
The fact is, when they announced that they were delaying these games for these reasons, or delayed the game for that reason, and then decided not to air the trailer for that reason, it was... Nobody reacted like, "Oh, that's very thoughtful of you." It was just like, you're gonna put it out eventually. War is an insensitive topic anyway. You're just putting out a cartoon game. Like, Nobody had a
It's one of those
negative
like you're
reaction to
damned
the
if you
idea
do,
of like
damned if you
being,
don't. If
yeah.
they had
I
released
don't
that
know.
shit, they would have gotten a lot of. They could have. They foresaw a lot of negative promotion versus like Whiskey Tango Foxtrot versus negative reaction is kind of like it's having a what the fuck reaction versus a bad reaction is maybe preferred in the eyes of public relations. I'm not in PR, so who knows? But I can understand it. I'm not excited for Advanced Wars at all. I remember when that game dropped on Game Boy Advance. My brother loved it. It does nothing for me. If anything, it's like again, I'm not seeing what really the benefit of this remaster is, especially on the same direct where you announce Game Boy Advance games. Like
it's Fire Emblem with tanks and airplanes.
oh yeah, it's a tactics game. Yeah, it's exactly that. So what does this remaster give you?
I don't know.
Better graphics?
I don't know why it's so expensive. I guess
beloved.
it is 2 games, and they probably put a lot of work into the remaster, but I don't know.
I'm all for remasters, but you need to give me something more than just updated graphics at this day and age to call it like a remaster and like and make me want to pay money for it. Like Demon Souls, when they came out with the Demon Souls remaster, I refused to pay the $40 for it because I was like, I don't see the point if it's just updated graphics. Now, Final Fantasy VII Remake gave us a whole fucking new experience, and that was well worth the $60. But you know, it's beyond just graphics. You got dialogue, you got additional story, you got a totally new story. Well worth it. But it's just like, hey, I'm going to polish this turd and charge you $40 for it. No,
that's not a bad point. No,
back in the day,
I don't know.
It probably
Nintendo
was worth it.
always overcharges for stuff.
Oh, they do. They're the worst.
Nintendo. Everybody overcharges, but Nintendo is kind of the worst culprit in my opinion.
I would agree. They are so money grubbing. They're still charging full price for games like Mario Kart, Super Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild. Like these games that are 4 or 5 years old, they're still charging full price for them, and like
games that would never be a lot like logically
any other
be
company
full
would have
price.
discounted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's kind of ridiculous. To be fair, even from software, did that. Dark Souls 3 was like, holy shit, fucking $60 until like 2020, and then they were like, all right.
I paid no more than $20 for each Dark Souls game. Thank you very much.
I know you did.
Life is good. Let's see. What else did we get there? We got some Katamari Damacy. Who gives a fuck? We talked about Pikmin. Who gives a fuck? Not this guy. Samba de Amigo. You want to play some Samba and like Maracas game with your Switch?
I mean, that could be interesting. Octopath Traveler 2.
Ooh, there's one to talk about.
My biggest problem with Octopath Traveler 1 was that the characters did not interact with one another and were not really part of each other's stories as much. Like sometimes, basically the interactions they got were like these little asides that you'd get where it's like it would notify you that there's a conversation to be had and you'd click on it and it would just be 2 characters that pop up, sometimes 3 or 4, but never all of them. And they would just like talk about a little thing that's been happening and that was it. And they none of the other characters would ever interact and be involved in anybody else's story. And apparently they've changed that. Apparently they've completely revamped this one, and the stories are all going to be interconnected, and characters will interact with one another during each other's stories and help out and be, essential to
play
stuff.
A role in every story.
And you'll even have like slightly different things going on if you do stories without a character in your party just yet.
Yeah.
Little things like that, just like slight small details, but it will all just make up into like one good perfect experience for you, and it feels like it's the game that you experienced your way.
It's unique.
And so I'm really excited about this. I don't know if I'm going to pick it up right at release because it's coming out so soon. Because, as I said, lots of games on my roster, not a lot of time on my hands. Got a lot of school that I'm procrastinating. So basically, this game is probably going to be a summer game for me. So we're going to get back to that when we get back to it.
Like it's seeding for future episodes. Good man. Let's see. Fashion Dreamer. Fuck that game.
Fashion Dreamer. Yeah.
Do you see the Fashion Influencer Simulator? Fuck that game.
Yeah, that
so
game
hard.
that just did not interest me at all. You know what did interest me and what excited me very, very much, and what I'm going to download onto my Switch as soon as I get off of here, is the Sea of Stars demo that they have put out. The makers of Sea of Stars are the same people from Quebec who made The Messenger, which I think is one of the two best Metroidvanias out right now, which is, the other being Hollow Knight. The third being Dead Cells. But Hollow Knight and The Messenger are simply fantastic. Sea of Stars is going to take place in the same universe as The Messenger, and it's going to be more of like a Chrono Trigger type combat style. I'm very, very excited about this game. I've been hearing about this game since 2019. My brother is actually he invested in it back.
Sea of Stars as well?
He invested in Sea of Stars back when it was on Kickstarter, and he invested enough that they have made a statue in the game of whatever Spencer wanted, and so he has chosen to memorialize our dog Barkley as a statue in Sea of Stars. So look forward to that. Our family is a part of Sea of Stars.
You better capture that on your capture card, and we will throw a B-roll up for the viewers of Drunk Thoughts and High Opinions.
Hell yes.
I want to see Barkley in a game. Let's see. Disney Illusion Island. This looks like a great game for my nieces who are 6 years old. Fantasy Life, The Girl Who Steals Time. This didn't perk my interest too high as like a game I'd like to play, but it did pique my interest in the gameplay itself. Like, just like, ooh, that's a unique idea.
It was kind of very interesting. Yeah.
Where it's kind of like it kind of felt like a Sim City type game, but you can travel between, not Sim City, Harvest Moon, but you can travel like 1,000 years in the past and then return to the present. So like if you plant a tree in the past, it's going to be a huge luscious tree in the present or something. That was the impression I got on that one. I thought that was a pretty unique idea.
Definitely.
Harvest Moon with time travel.
Yes.
Thought, opinions, anything you want to add?
No, not really on that one.
We got more courses coming to Mario Kart 8.
We do, and for the first time, they are adding a new character, which I thought was very interesting. They're bringing back Birdo, which I don't think has been a character since Double Dash, as they mentioned. As you know, Double Dash is probably the Mario Kart that I've played the most of. Mario Kart 64 is the one I'm probably best at. But I love...
I'll still kick your ass in any race.
Fair, that's fair. That's fair.
I played them both.
I'm not very competitive. But...
I will take you out with a blue spiny shell.
The maps that they showed in the...
Blue spiny so far up your ass.
All right, then.
And then he'll slip on a banana peel.
Oh, my. Any whoozle, I was going to say that the maps that they showed in the demo today looked very interesting, and I'm excited to see those. I've already played through most of the DLC maps, the booster pack maps that they've released, and they're honestly really good. The fact that they're releasing the same amount of courses that were in the base game is a really big bonus to me. I think that is worth the fact that the game is, now we're basically $100. But it's a massive game now. It's a fucking massive game. Once they have finished putting out the once they finish putting out all the tracks, these bonus tracks, they're gonna be fucking. It's gonna be such a big game. I am shocked at the amount of maps when you actually like break it down. I think there's 100 tracks now.
I mean, they're doing the same thing they did with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. They're just everything on this one.
Right.
Everything.
Right.
Everything on the Switch. Just everything.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering.
What are you wondering?
If they announce a new console soon, probably in within the next year. I say within this year they're going to announce something. I wonder if, because usually with every new Final or Legend of Zelda game, they release it at the end of one console and then it bleeds into the next. They do that quite often. We've talked about this before. So I think that Tears of the Kingdom is going to come out, and then a month is going to pass, and they're going to announce a new console.
I'm going to disagree with you there, my friend, because they would not jeopardize. They would do if they were going to. I don't think they're going to have a new console. I disagree with you there. I think Tears of the Kingdom is the Majora's Mask of the Switch, just like the Ocarina of Time, and then Majora's Mask on N64. Those are the two games we got on the N64, and then they came out with the GameCube, and Wind Waker was not quite a launch title, but it was pretty damn close. So I'm thinking it's Majora's Mask, and here's why. Now you are 100% correct. In the fact that they do like to release new consoles with a Zelda game, because that will draw sales. They like to coincide those two things. They like to do them at console launch. We saw it with Twilight Princess, where it came out on the GameCube and the Wii. We saw it with Breath of the Wild. The first one, the original, came out on the Wii or Wii U, whatever, as well as the Switch. Now, this, I think if they were going to drop a new console, they would have announced it already, because, and this also is going to contradict your point of dropping a month later, because if they were going to come out with a new console, they would release it at the same time to drive those console sales. They wouldn't say, here, go play our new Zelda game, and then a month later be like, oh, by the way, here's the Switch Deluxe. People would riot because they've already beaten that game.
Okay.
They would drop them at the same time. Now, it could happen still. We still have 3 months, so there could be another Direct.
I could see them surprising the world. Instead of doing a pre-announcement, just doing a boom new version of the Switch, like a Switch Pro or something, just drops.
Yeah, that could happen. I think they're going to drive those pre-sales. Those pre-sales are huge for the retailers like Walmart, Best Buy, GameStop, and worldwide. Those pre-sales are fucking keep half the fucking business alive. And so I doubt that's going to happen. Now, Nintendo is known for pulling those kind of pranks. So you're remember,
they never
right
make the good decision. They never make the bad decision. They only make the weird decision.
They do. I will consent to you on that. I will agree on your opinion on that. But my thought is, if they were going to release a new console in the first half of 2023, we would have heard a little bit about it. I'm thinking Christmas next year. I think they're skipping E3 this year. They might come back to E3 next year or do a Direct during E3. They'll announce it and they'll drop it at Christmas 2024. And I think it's going to be a half measure to the Switch. Because let's be honest, the Switch is the perfect console. It's so fucking amazing. It's just going to be a Switch Deluxe, a Switch Plus, a Switch 2.0. I can't see Nintendo going back on that. No, I could see them doing a Switch 2.0 and then a whole other console on the side.
You know,
kind of
what
like turn the Switch into the Game Boy.
Yes, I can. We've talked about that. I can see that. You know, what I can also see is them going back and doing the Wii U right in a way, like doing a new console that is like the Switch and a console combined, but it's something where you can actually take the screen and go away, but then you you dock it at the console and get more power or something.
And still, that'd be a Switch 2.0 though.
It would be a Switch 2.0, but it would also be a Wii U 2.0.
But I'm talking about a whole revolutionary, just like the Switch was a total departure from the Wii, you know, and the Wii being a total departure from the GameCube. I could see them doing something like that. And then the Switch 2.0, basically Switch becomes the Game Boy side of things, and they stop the 3DS, and then they come out with the full revolution, which, funnily enough, that was the code name for the Wii.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see them. I can definitely see them doing that.
So I don't know,
but
let's talk about Tears of the Kingdom, though. Let's talk about that for a hot minute.
Well, the trailer, you can drive a car and you can fly a drone. So I'm happy.
That's all that was on Graham's wish list, folks. That's his only beef with Breath of the Wild. He couldn't drive or fly a drone.
Yes, this is amazing. These are positive steps. Hold on,
you want to try that again? You did positive steps and you pointed downward. Positive. I was tapping my finger, but I didn't want to. I know what you're doing. You were just really funny about it. Like, these are positive steps going downward.
No. I'm like directing my point. These are positive steps. You know, like you don't get me. Fuck up.
I'm the only person who gets you, bitch. That's why I do this podcast with you.
Meet Morgan, then you'll see. Anyway,
bring her on.
Okay, fine.
Guest host. Let's do it.
If you bring on Hannah.
Oh, I will. She's gonna be living with me. So beginning of April, I'll bring on guest host Hannah.
Fair enough. So, the only thing that I did not get a hint at is do they still have breakable weapons? Because there was nothing more disappointing in Breath of the Wild than having a cool-ass weapon and not wanting to use it or not being able to use it because you were afraid it was going to break before you could actually have it for a cool fight, you know? You know, like, wanted to save the cool weapons for
even
the cool
the
fights.
Master Sword had durability.
And though it did, and it took 30 minutes of game time to go back to being normal. And it's like, what the fuck is that? That's so fucking shitty. That is trolling.
The Blade of Evil's Bane, only usable for a half hour.
What we do know is that the Master Sword is broken at the beginning of this game. That's all I'll say.
Do we though?
Yes, because we've seen it in the trailer when he's wielding the Master Sword and the blade is all like melted off at close to the tip.
But how do we know that's the beginning of the game?
Well, okay, it's like past the tutorial.
How do you know that? That could be the end of the game, Graham.
They wouldn't show the end of the game.
You don't know. That's a holy shit moment. It draws intrigue. You don't know.
Sure.
You don't know.
I'm willing to put money on it.
That's fair. You have money to spare there, money bags. The rest of us don't.
I'm willing to put it down. I say it's closer to the beginning of the game. I think the sword will be reforged. I think that it's a false direct or a false like
direction.
Yeah, they're forcing us in a false direction.
A MacGuffin, a red herring.
Yeah, so to speak. I think that the sword is going to get mangled like right at the beginning of the game, if it's not already mangled from like something in the interim. And then it's going to get like fixed, or I can see it like you use like a phantom blade that conjures out of it. Because if you look at the title like the artwork for the title. It has the sword, there, but it has like an outline of the rest of the blade, like a phantom blade.
To me, that looks like Link's bionic arm that he somehow acquires. So I think that's
like his sword grafts into the blade.
I wouldn't be. I mean, that thought occurred in my brain, but I think it's just the artwork is a motif play on that. I don't think that's indicative of what happens to the sword.
Well, we've seen the sword in the trailers before, looking like that, so we know it happens.
And I agree with you that I think it is going to break in the tutorial. I'm just giving you shit, like, because you don't know. But I honestly agree with you that I think it's going to be like one of the first things that happens.
They wouldn't break the sword
story.
at the end of the game. Let's be honest.
You never know. Like, or it could be the midpoint, just like in the midpoint of Breath of the Wild is when you get the sword. Well, it could be the midpoint of this game, and then the latter half of the game is restoring it. We've seen that in the game. We've seen that in Wind Waker. You acquire the Master Sword, and it's a piece of shit.
Right.
And so half the game is repowering the Master Sword. So I could totally see that happening.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But
well, that's kind of what I was getting at, was like, because we've had it in the past, a lot of games you're restoring the sword, or you don't get it until later. You have to use other things. I can totally see it. I can see it being where maybe they do have weapon durability, and then once you restore the sword, it's way more powerful than before, and it does not break.
That would be nice.
I can see it doing that, and it's like then it would be worth the incentive of actually acquiring it. Actually putting in the work to get it.
I am predicting they're doing away with weapon durability. That was the most common issue that everybody complained with. Or if they don't do away with it, it is going to be vastly increased.
Oh yeah,
where things don't break after like a half hour. It's going to take you'll have to actively try to break shit. Kind of like in the first Dark Souls game, where things do have a durability.
Yeah,
but every time you rest or shit, it restores itself. I could see that kind of
Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild. Well, actually, no. Breath of the Wild would be Dark Souls 2, because everything breaks super quickly. And then hopefully this will be Dark Souls 1, where you rarely notice that the durability is going down, and you'll remember Dark Souls 1 didn't actually let you restore it when you just rested. You'd have to actively smith or repair stuff, but doesn't matter. Little tiny detail.
And it was, and even then it was not a big deal. You could find people to do it or do it yourself. And so maybe just like the cooking mechanic in the first game, they'll make a blacksmithing mechanic where you can repair your shit.
That would be so nice. That would be so nice.
I think would rectify the issue.
Have a weapon that will last a while, longer than a few hours or something.
You enjoy this weapon, keep it around if you can. If you have,
and if you find other weapons,
so.
You can still collect other weapons and switch between them because of the nature of the enemies. Because some weapons just work better against certain enemies. You can still throw them and lose them from your inventory, but just make sure the durability is increased significantly, significantly.
Yeah. What do we think? So there was a voiceover on this trailer, the direct trailer, that I don't think we've heard in the past. Do you think it's Ganon, or do you think it's another?
It sounded
antagonist?
It sounded like another antagonist. Sounded like
I thought it was Ganon at first, and then it changed.
It sounded like some higher power than Ganon.
I don't know about that.
Or maybe not that. Maybe a henchman that is all right, boys, now we're in charge.
You know what I'm gonna guess? I'm throwing a wild theory out here. This is Drunk Thoughts theory here. Have you played through all of Link to the Past?
I have not. No.
Okay, so Link to the Past opens, and your antagonist is a wizard, a dark wizard named Agahim, and he's the one you first fight after you've collected the 3 penance, aka you played Ocarina of Time.
Yes, the first.
So there's so many parallels. First 3 spiritual stones, and then you go, and then the story pivots.
Exactly.
Link to the Past, that's based on what happens in Link to the Past, where you go and find the 3 penance, and then you go to the Castle of Hyrule after getting the Master Sword to fight Agahnim and rescue Zelda, and shit happens, and you end up in the Dark World. Agahnim turns out to be Ganon in disguise, but I could see something similar happening here, where it's Ganon, but it's not quite Ganon.
Because Ganon, whenever he is defeated, he goes into his like interim state, doesn't he? Like he goes into a different different form or like spiritual form before returning to the spiritual form.
They're all reincarnated.
Yeah.
The whole thing of Skyward Sword, if you've ever beaten that game, it kind of sets up a whole like reincarnation saga.
Mm-hmm. I have not beaten it, but I know what happens at the end of the game.
Yeah, where Calamity, the Calamity basically or whatever, Demise curses Link and Zelda, saying they're always destined to do this battle for all eternity in reincarnation form. And so he is Ganon, you have Link and Zelda, and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. I did like in that game, just if I may, that the main antagonist in most of that game is a little fuckhead named Girahim, who is a pain in the ass through like 90% of the game. That's just a douchebag. And it turns out he is are you familiar with the twist was Girahim and who he is?
No, I'm not.
All right, maybe I won't spoil it then.
But no, fuck it, dude, go ahead. It's an old game.
It turns out just like Fi is the spiritual representation of the Master Sword, Girahim is the spiritual manifestation of like the anti-Master Sword.
Yes. Oh yeah, I remember hearing about this. Yeah, that's right.
He becomes Demise's sword in the final battle, which is like a reverse Master Sword, whereas the Master Sword is all sleek and blue and nice and like a true hero sword. That sword becomes like black and jagged and red and just ugly and fierce. And I really like that idea. So I would not mind it if they brought that back. No, I think they will. No. But I thought that was a really cool idea that you're plagued by the spirit of the anti-Master Sword, as I'm just dubbing it for the sake of the conversation. That's not canon, like that term. But Girahim or Agahnim or something like that being the antagonist for a good majority of this game just to return as Ganon, I think would be good. But honestly, I'm hoping it's Ganondorf is who we heard, because Ganon was featured in the Breath of the Wild game, right? And he was kind of a mindless villain. And where you have a game that finally introduces voice acting into a Zelda game, finally gives voice and emotion to Zelda, to Impa, to all these characters, but you just have Ganon and Link being mindless drones, one following the player's commands, the other one's just set up to destroy Hyrule. I want Ganon to have a personality, because when he has a personality, when he's Ganondorf and he has a personality, he is so much more compelling as a villain. Absolutely. And I cite you Wind Waker. Wind Waker's Ganondorf is by far the best iteration of that character, because you almost sympathize with him. You almost understand why he's such a douchebag instead of just a mindless villain like in the other games. So I'm hoping the voice we hear is him.
That's a really good
his
point.
Side.
That's a really good point. I would love to see Ganondorf again. I hope that with the return of Ganondorf, we get the return of real dungeons, real temples.
Yes.
We've talked about this before, but I would really like to see it. It looks like they were having some real fun with different and new things you could do with like the new like tablet infused into your arm. So I'm excited to see what how those could be used into these like new temples that are in the sky or temples underground.
I'm thinking the temples are going to be up high, like
they
rise out of the crust of the earth, just like Hyrule Castle does in one of the trailers, and those become the temples, along with a few on the ground that are new because of this geological shift. But I feel like a lot of them will be up in the sky as well. And going between the sky and the land is going to be just like going between, just like we mentioned earlier, it's going to be the the two lands. You have the light and the dark world, the age, young and adult. You're going to have the sky and the land to jump between, and the dungeon's going to be primarily up there.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be super dope.
I think that's definitely, we're definitely going to get a lot of sky temples. I think that in terms of temples appearing on the ground, I think there are quite a few places that could be temples in Breath of the Wild if they're just like covered up or something. Things that are like in the desert mountains, or maybe in the sea above or below where the elephant one was standing in the water up above the Zoras. I can see, because water temples are typically underwater, so I can see it being in that upper lake.
Say what?
I can see it being in that upper lake and then in the water and down, and so it's more like actually at the level, but inside that mountain. I can see a lot of these temples actually being inside mountains and just.
We saw in the trailer.
Ground. Yeah,
we saw in the trailer that Hyrule Castle lifts up at some point in the story.
Yes,
I'm willing to bet that is also a very early event. That. While it happens early, they give you the option to traverse that up into the sky and follow it and go straight to the castle, just like they did in the first game.
Right.
But I'm guessing with that, there's a tectonic shift in Hyrule. That rising up to the sky causes the rest of Hyrule to shift, and that changes the landscape just enough to reveal temples of old past. Because, like, as a lot of this lore is established, this is the same Hyrule of like a lot of the games, but like 10,000 years in the future.
Yes.
So that shift just changes the landscape enough to unearth some of these temples and give us something to explore. So that's my guess, is a lot of that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Plus, we're just going to get like temples that are up in the air, maybe even based on Skyward Sword, which is the first game canonically in the series. Where there was a shit ton of things up in the sky. They might still up.
That's what
there.
I was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
Minish Cap, and Twilight Princess are two games that have also explored temples in the sky. So those could be remnants of that. So yes. I'm guessing it's a mixture of old and new on that front. But at the same time, I think Nintendo was tickled pink by the fact that you can, the small skilled players can go beat Breath of the Wild in like 20 minutes.
Oh yeah,
by just jumping straight to the castle. So I think they're going to keep that aspect around just for the fun sake.
Oh, people would be. I think speedrunners would be real upset if they took that aspect out.
So.
Also, I think
those are my theories.
The signs that this game is just going to be more Breath of the Wild, whereas all the previous games have kind of like had their own signature to them, is a sign that Nintendo is willing to say, all right, this is successful, we need to keep doing that.
Which is why I think this is the Majora's Mask of the Switch.
Right.
They realized that the formula they had in Ocarina of Time was good. People enjoyed the combat, they enjoyed Link, they enjoyed the world, and they're like, all right, let's give them more of that. And I mean, I think you and I can agree that the trailers for Tears of the Kingdom look pretty macabre compared to Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild, the big trailer we got was like Link running through a field getting chased by a guardian and fighting it off, and it was like very Zelda, very fun and open.
Yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom is like, you're gonna die, motherfucker, and there's a lot of death and like a Ganon looking Re-Dead that screams at you and shit.
It's Dark Souls 2's trailer.
All right, I think it's going to be a bit better than that. All right, like
no, but
let's be optimistic here.
I'm just talking about the trailer. I'm not talking about the game. Dark Souls 2's trailer was like, and the beginning of the early cutscene of the game is like, you're going to die over and over and over again, and you will wish that it was permanent. It's like, God damn.
Yeah, they set the expectations hard on that game. And yeah. I think Tears of the Kingdom is going to do the same for for this. I think it's very much a Majora's Mask half measure. And then I think the game following this, the following Zelda game, will be your full-on release with a new system game
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, whatever the next iteration of Zelda will be. But I'm guessing Tears of the Kingdom is the macabre, more down to earth, or not down to earth, but like the more serious dystopian version of Breath of the Wild. Just like Termina was a dystopian version of Hyrule, this one is
Hmm.
going to flip this Hyrule. Tears of the Kingdom will flip Hyrule on its head and make it more Termina based, and
And
is going to be darker.
you make an interesting point about them releasing the next game with a new system because they're making this with exactly the same engine as Breath of the Wild, just like Majora's Mask. It
Majora's
means that
Mask.
they didn't have to work very hard on like creating stuff. They just had to like drop and drag and like create a few new things, and for the most part, like work out finer details.
Yeah.
Which means that another team could have been working on a newer version of A Legend of Zelda that will come out like in 2 years with a new
I think
system
2 years is a safe bet.
instead of 6 years. Because I was thinking if it was 6 years, my goodness, we'd have the Switch for like almost like 12 years before before
Yeah,
it
no.
was
I'm
replaced.
thinking optimistically Christmas 2024, realistically Christmas 2025.
All right, I think that's a good guess. I think that's a
It
good
will be the
guess.
next Zelda and the next Nintendo console, Christmas 2025.
Yeah, and it will be a completely like new signature on the series. I think that
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are going to be kind of like, yeah, like you said, like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, just kind of like a pairing that kind of have to be played together in a way to fully grasp. And I think that it will be the same here. I
Yeah.
remember when the game
Now,
was finally announced, and before they delayed it to May, when they were like, "All right, we're releasing it in 2022 or something like that." I was like, "Cool," and I finished the game in 2021, and then they delayed it to now, and I'm like, "God damn it!" Now I kind of want to go back and replay it in preparation, but it's too big of a game. It's too big of a
I'm
game.
replaying it right now. I beat it back when it first dropped on the Wii U. And I remember, I played through it all. I did the 4 Divine Beasts, and I explored the world heavily and really enjoyed it. I loved that game. And I beat it, and the only complaint I had about the game was the ending. I thought the ending was very subpar.
I did all 120 shrines. I got the original Link outfit. That was what I
You go,
fucking cared
girl.
about. That's what I cared about.
And so I'm playing it right now on my Switch. I bought it on Switch, and I'm playing through it, and I'm enjoying it. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm like, oh, this is such a good game. But I don't feel super compelled to play like I did the first game. Like, I used to come home and play it for like 3 or 4 hours before my girlfriend at the time came home, and we would cook dinner and hang out. I would play it for hours. Now I'm just like, here and there, I'll pop in an hour or two just for funsies.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Like, it's such a gargantuan game that it just, once you do it once, it's hard to go back. And honestly, I feel the same way about Elden Ring. Don't get me wrong. I love playing Elden Ring with you,
Yeah.
but like,
It's a
I'm
big game.
slightly compelled to go back to the game, but at the same time, I'm like, that's a big endeavor to go and try to like, okay, I'm going to try this guy's storyline. Like, I heard, I never finished a lot of the character storylines. I'm like, I want to finish their storylines because I hate that FOMO.
Mm-hmm.
But to do so, it's just an endeavor.
Well, for me, the first time I played Elden Ring, I really, really took my time, obviously, and went to all the dungeons and played through them, and and just basically, I consumed probably 95% of Elden Ring in my first playthrough. I missed a little bit, but
We
I got
both did.
about
Together,
we
a lot
both
of
got
it.
about a lot of it. Yeah, we both got a lot of it, and now I'm somebody who, when I'm replaying a game, I've played it before. I just want to get through it. My brain is just like you've seen this before, and I have to like compel myself to like slow down and look at stuff. So I've benefited from being able to like, okay, I know where this weapon is. I know where this armor set is. I want to do this kind of build. okay, break. And then I
Yeah.
like make a character, and in 45 minutes I've done things that most players have done in like
30
15
hours.
hours. Yeah, 30 hours of gameplay on there
Yeah.
for things I had done
Like,
at
we got
45 or 50
to,
hours in my first playthrough, and I was getting it in 34 minutes, because that's how the game is designed, is that you can pretty much go anywhere that you want and get almost anything you want very quickly, except the stuff that's in the later part of the game, but that's neither here nor there. That's the point of the game. That's what I have loved about the replayability of it, is that I can just it satisfies my itch of making builds.
I'm hoping Tears of the Kingdom sort of fixes that, because again,
Yes,
my biggest beef with that game was the end game, where I wandered into Hyrule Castle unknowingly. Like, I didn't realize if I got too close to it, it became its own dungeon,
right.
just like the four divine beasts. And I just happened to get close by mistake, and then I'm like, oh, I'm in Hyrule Castle. This is cool. Well, I know the Hyrule Shield is here because I heard about it. Let me see if I can find that. And I found it. And I was like, okay, let me see how far I can get. And I ended up beating the game with like no meals, no prep, no real idea of what I was doing. I had barely any weapons. I had the Master Sword. That was about it. But like no other weapons and to help me out. And I ended up beating the game. I fought Ganon. I'm like, yeah, this is a hard fight, the first one. You know, where the Divine Beast reduces health by half.
Yeah.
And then there was the Beast Ganon on Hyrule Field where I had to shoot light arrows at him. And that was more or less just like a walking fucking QuickTime event.
Uh-huh.
And it was fun. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun fight. But it just felt way too easy.
Yeah.
It didn't feel
totally
warranted.
agree.
It didn't feel like there was any rise of the story. Like, you know, a lot of the Zelda games are known for their story of like, you've collected all the medallions, you've collected all the pieces, you've powered up the Master Sword, you've done X, Y, and Z. Now it's time to fight Ganon. Go do it, Link. And this one was just like, do what you want, kick his ass.
Yeah.
And I was pretty disappointed in that fact. So I hope Tears of the Kingdom has a bit more story to it.
Oh, definitely. I'm hoping that this combines Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask's way of storytelling, and kind of gives a much more compelling, like, psychological and actual, like, stuff going on story. Because Breath of the Wild was way too much like, you make this story your own, and I would love it if it was make the story your own, but here's a lot of ways to make it interesting.
Yeah, I'm all for, you know, I love the open world idea of, you know, you do things in the order you want and you explore the world as you want. But I personally need a little bit of constriction. I need a little bit of, like, not locks, but go do this.
Some direction.
Whatever you want to do. And then we'll advance the story to the next part. And then, you know, just like Horizon Zero Dawn or Shadow of Mordor or even Dark Souls. Like Dark Souls 1 does a really, like, honestly, from a story standpoint, it's like, okay, your first task, ring these two bells. Do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
In the meantime, but your task is to ring these two bells, and you ring two bells. Okay, now go to Anne Orlando and talk to Gwendolyn. You have to do that. Now you have to, you know, go collect the souls of these four people in any order you want, whatever. But that is your task. So I'd love it if they took a cue from that, where it's like, all right, you have this stuff, and then you have story. Then you have this stuff, and then you have story.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I totally agree. I think that would be fantastic. Not sure if that's what they're going to do, but I absolutely agree.
Who knows? That's just my hope.
Absolutely agree. No, totally.
Because I thought Breath of the Wild did such a great job in introducing story elements, but it also was just lacking in story elements.
Very true.
And wouldn't it be fucking fantastic wouldn't it be great? Let's end the conversation here. You have 2 great games, and at the end of it, we hear Link speak for the first time.
That is a great idea. That is a great idea.
It's not going to happen.
It's a great thought. That's a great thought from the great drunk.
It's a drunk thought.
Great thought from a great drunk.
I don't know about that, but like, just think about it. Like, finally give us what we ever wanted. Like, Link, you've saved Hyrule. Thank you so much. I love you. And then you hear Link go, I know. And just boom, credits. And that's Tears of the Kingdom, folks. Boom. Yep. We have solved the Nintendo problem.
Link was Han Solo all along. That's why she hates him. Because Leia, just like Leia hated Han Solo, but she actually loves him. Link is a
scruffy nerf herder.
Link is Han Solo. And this is the only thing I will accept. This is the only comparison that I will accept. I will take no other. I insist that this is true.
I do not disagree with the high opinionated host. He has a point.
And with that, we will end our episode. Corey, where can we find you on the internet?
RedTube.
Oh, really? Finally doing that anal porn,
Sorry. You're asking where you can find my shit. My bad. Oh, I thought you were asking where you can find what I'm searching.
Oh man, I was hoping to find the most absolutely disgusting anal porn, but that's neither here nor there.
Don't tell the folks what we recorded together, Graham. That's Drunk Thoughts and High Opinions After Dark.
You got me.
Tune in, folks, for the next episode of Drunk Thoughts and High Opinions, where we introduce the RedTube channel of anal. Who's doing who? Find out next time.
You know you can actually put content on Pornhub that's not porn.
No, I didn't know that. I've never researched that, and I have no intention of researching that. But thanks for that information. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome. I thought that was information that you needed to know.
It's not, but I appreciate it.
I decided that was information that you needed to know.
That's wonderful, and I appreciate you, my friend. I can be found on the Facebooks, the Twitters, the Instagrams, not the TikToks, because I'm a fucking old-ass douchebag that doesn't do that kind of crap. So fuck you if you are on there. But you can find me on the rest of the social media. Hit me up on MySpace at ROKESYBOY. Don't hit me up on MySpace. I don't have a MySpace. I'm not that old. I remember the MySpace. I was a part of that generation, but I don't have a MySpace. I'm not that cool. Or maybe I do. I don't even know it's still active. I should check that. Anyway, ROKESYBOY. I am giving my high host gray hairs.
MySpace on this channel. You offend me, sir.
We got to get more than 3 listeners. Do you have a better idea?
The remnants of MySpace, just like
Tom will listen to us, Graham.
Just like
Tom is my friend.
8 shriveled people inside their homes that take outside.
It's the Gollum of social media.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's my precious MySpace, my precious.
It's MySpace. MySpace. My beautiful space.
All right.
That's what's going to happen.
Tell us about your website before the people stop listening.
My website is... When he's finished speaking. My website is mad-musings.com. Again, mad-musings.com, where you can find my short stories, my shorter stories, my poetry, photographs that I've taken to compliment.
Have you updated it yet?
I have not updated it because I am very fucking busy with everything else I've been doing. I'm even going to be doing schoolwork as soon as we get off of this. And so...
I have another edit.
What?
I have another edit request.
For me to edit?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll edit this week.
Your profile picture is super fucking big.
Which one?
If you
on my
do the
website?
about the author and you go there, your profile picture takes up like 10/8 of the page.
Yes. Yes.
You're a good looking dude, don't get me wrong. But just shrink it down a little. Like
I've actually taken some experimental self-portraits, and so I'm going to be adding more to my about the author page coming soon whenever I have time.
That's fine too. Power to you. Just bring it down a little bit.
We really need to find a way to just get to the point on when we do this part. Everybody else that does this in podcasts, they have found it. They've gotten to an art of just doing it. We've somehow gotten worse at this. I have actively tried to get better, and every single time you take it off the rails. You know that?
You're welcome.
End this nightmare. End it. End it now. End the suffering.
Cue the music. Whoever's editing this week's episode. Folks, thank you so much for joining us.
End it, please.
End this torment.
End this endless torment.
If you could do me a favor and just quote some Edgar Allan Poe with the Raven, that would be fantastic there. No?
If I did happen to just know the Raven off the top of my head, that would have been very cool. But
yeah, I was going to say that would be perfect. There's the Raven Knox. Forevermore. Forevermore, we are Drunk Thoughts and High Opinions, folks. Thank you so much for joining us this week. I've been Corey Rokes, your Drunk Thoughts.
I have been your High Opinions, Graham Stoniewski. Please spend your time doing better things than listening to us. Please, for the love of God. What are you doing here? Why are you still here? Don't listen to this. Get out.
You are horrible at marketing, sir.
Self-deprecation sells.
Yeah, so does sex, but you know what? We both still have a shirt on, so take it off.
End the recording. I'm cutting all of this, We've already signed off.
Fuck you. Good night, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.